All right. Let's close the eyes. We'll sit up nice, comfortable posture for a moment. Nice, tall body. Recite Om 3 times. Take a deep breath in. Softly open the eyes. So let me share the screen. Okay. So I hope you can all see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we went through this very briefly last time. What are some of the language characteristics of Sanskrit? Then we had a little, general kind of characteristics. Fact that most of the literature of the ancient times is all written in Sanskrit, so it's very, very important for us to learn this language so we can understand some of the texts that we always follow for our studies. Okay, so in terms of what we covered last time, does anybody have any questions? Anyone like any clarifications?
Sapash, where can we get the can we print this PowerPoint or
Well, I have already given you a link for the PowerPoint.
I know, but are we okay? Is it okay for us to print it?
Yeah, absolutely. You do whatever you
Okay.
want to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you feel free to.
You're talking about that website. What's the full address of that website? What,
Which
or
website?
Chitra, I think it's called Chitrapur Mart.
Chitrapur Mart, yes.
So how do we, with the web address there?
I can share the, hold on a second. Let me see if I can.
Or you can just text, if you want to. Not later on, maybe not.
Later on, okay.
Yeah, not wasting time now. Okay.
Toward the end of the session, remind me. I'll give you the text.
Thank you.
Address. Sure. Yeah. So, anybody else have any questions? Okay. So now, this is the main focus of the session. These 3 days, 3 sessions, is actually to learn how to pronounce the Sanskrit sounds, because that's some of the most difficult and challenging tasks for a lot of people who are not familiar with these sounds. Okay, so we went through the Sanskrit alphabet last time. Okay, so the first, the first few letters are all vowels. So if you look at this, there are 48 letters in the alphabet. And some, if you look at some of the Vedic literature, they have a couple of more letters which are not commonly used right now. Okay, and out of these, 15 are vowels. They are called swara. That's the name in Sanskrit, swara. And the 33 are consonants, which are called vyanjana. Okay, so soon as I speak a word in Sanskrit, It'll be very helpful if you can just try and repeat it. So repeat the word swara. And then consonants are called vyanjana. And if you have doubts as to what I'm saying, please unmute yourself and ask the question. You're not getting the sound or you're not getting the pronunciation right. So please make sure you unmute yourself and then ask the question. Don't send me a text message. I like audible question, okay?
So swara vanjana.
Vyanjana. Vyanjana.
Vyanjana.
Yes, beautiful. You got it right.
Anjana. Okay.
And now the script that is used for Sanskrit, it's called Devanagari. Devanagari.
Vanagari.
Okay. And then vowels are written first and then the consonants. And most of the Sanskrit sounds, I should have added the word most of the Sanskrit sounds are produced by placing the tongue in various positions in the mouth. And that's a very, very key aspect of how Sanskrit sounds are pronounced. And I'll get to that in a later slide as to exactly where the position of the tongue is. Okay? And then, like we saw last time, there are many sounds in Sanskrit which are not really used in English or many other languages. So that's why a special effort is required to learn these sounds. So what are these? Some of these sounds, for example, the sounds which are more aspirated, they are called aspirated sounds. Okay. So for example, in this chart, I'm reading the first consonant, which is ka. Ka. It's like in carry. Okay. Okay, that's ka. But then there is this sound ka, which does not appear in English. Okay, so it is a very aspirated sound. So you have to really put a lot of effort into learning how to pronounce this. Ka, and in the same letter, if you aspirate that, it becomes ka. Ha. The same thing with ga, that's softer. And then this is ga, ga. Okay, so keep trying to recite these sounds as we go along this chart. Okay, so this is the same thing. And the next line is cha, cha, like in church. That's cha.
Cha.
And cha,
Cha.
okay, hard sound. So there is a little. Let me see if there is a chart here, which kind of gives you an idea how to pronounce these sounds, right? So, for example, it gives an example. Ka is like in paprika, right? That's softer, a little bit softer sound, paprika. Then ka is like in thick honey. If you know, I mean, it is not. There's no way to identify, make the sound identical in English. There are no sounds, but this just not even a close approximation, but you can think of it this way: thick honey, honey, honey. So that's the ka sound. Same thing. Big honey, big honey. So that ga sound. Okay. So ga is saga, that's fairly easy to pronounce, saga, or gun. Ga is gun. Ka is paprika or kite or something like that. But this ka is a difficult sound. That's where you have to really make an effort to understand this. All right. So if I go down this line, we'll pronounce each one of these letters. Okay, I hope you can read it all. Right. So now this is ga, and this is nga, nga. So it sounds like ink, nga. Okay,
Na.
nga.
Na.
No, that's a little different than what I'm saying. So nga, it's at the back of the palate, upper palate, very back.
Na.
Yeah. Okay. So this is cha,
Cha.
and then the next one is cha, cha.
Cha.
Again, the only way you can kind of approximate it is machani, cha.
Yeah.
Okay. Then same thing with ja. Ja is Japan,
Yeah.
job, jug. They're simple sounds. But then ja, rajhani, jhani, ja.
Cha.
That's again that aspirated. It's called aspirated sound. Okay. In Sanskrit, they are called Alpa Prana and Mahaprana. That's the Sanskrit name for these aspirated sound. Mahaprana. Prana is the air. Mahaprana is the great air. That means your effort is to put a lot of air out of your mouth when you're doing that. Okay, so this is nya. This is inch. That's a good approximation. Inch. Nya.
Nya.
Yeah, very good. Okay, then of course we have ta. Ta is
Ta.
like tang. There's again
Ta. Ta.
the English sound like tango, for example, gets a little bit aspirated in. It's halfway between ta and ta. The English sound of ta, like we said tango. Okay,
Ta.
the tango is not the same as the soft ta in Sanskrit. Okay, so even the hotel, for example, there is a slight aspiration in hotel. Okay, in English. Now this ta is much more heavily aspirated compared to tango. Okay, so the English sound of T is kind of halfway between the main ta and the ta. Okay, so you can look at it that way. So ta, ta, da. Da is like dogra, like dog. That's the same thing as dog. Very similar to dog. And again, the next one is da, da. Again, the
Ta.
da, again, I mean, this is just a silly example. There's no other way to write it. It says shdam, shdam. Okay, that's how the da is pronounced. Now, this letter is a little bit difficult for most people. Even in India, I've found people that sometimes they're not very comfortable. So there is a sound, na. Okay. Now, and the next one, let's go to the next one first, and then I'll come back to this na. So this is ta, pasta, for example, ta, and then tha, which is again, now this is a wrong example. There is this example doesn't work. Eat honey is not the same as tha. Okay, so again, it's hard to give an example. Tha, ta, tha. The. This is a wrong example. So you have to ignore these. These are not correct examples. The. Then this is na, like narrow or
Na.
banana, right? Na.
Na.
Now this is na, whereas this previous one was na. Can you hear the distinction between the two sounds?
Yeah, I can, because we have, in my language, we have na.
Okay.
Na and na.
So there is na and na. Others, please chime in if you are able to hear the sound difference or you are not able to. I would like to hear your feedback.
Yeah, Subhashji, I learned it as Arna.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
In Bengali, it's called nya.
No, that's not correct sound. That.
Oh, okay.
So it
In
has to
Gujarati, we have it, Arna.
be no, yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anybody else want to try or not?
Na.
Okay, so let me pick a word. Let me say we want to pronounce the word Narayana. Okay, Narayana. All right. So let me see if I have an example of that here. No, I don't have an example. Let's do this. Pranayama. Okay.
Yeah.
So prana. So that's the na sound. Prana. It's not prana. Now, if I were to say, I think Narayana is a good example because it includes both sounds. Let me see if I can. Give me a second. Because I'm going to add here this word called Narayana. Now here, if you see, the first letter N is the normal letter, normal, na, like name, right? So there's this
Na.
final na, this has a dot under it.
Hmm.
pronounce as Narayana. Narayana. Are there people who cannot hear the difference at all? I want to know that.
Begana.
Can you?
I can.
Begana.
Is there anybody who cannot?
Yeah.
Manjushri, you cannot?
Begana.
No.
What's
Not
that?
right. Not right. Begana. Begana.
No, no, no,
No,
no.
no. He's talking
Different.
about Narayana, the last one.
I'm talking about this
So
Narayana.
Narayan.
Narayana. Narayana. So this
Ana.
first na is na. This is na. Narayana.
Ana. Acha.
Yes, yes. Okay. Anyway, let's move on here. All right. And then we have pa, and again pa. Scoop honey. That's a fairly good example. Pa is Peter or page. That's pa. Pa is it's aspirated. Same thing with ba. Ba is like in baby. That ba. Ba. Rub honey.
Ba.
Okay. Good example. Then ma, like Mary or mother. That's ma. Very simple. Then ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Employable, that's a good example. Or yoga, that's yeah. We know that yoga. Then ra, it's simple ra, like rope, that's ra. Then la, like
Yeah.
love, that's
La.
love.
La.
Okay.
Ulla.
And then
Var.
it's like variety, that's
Va.
now here there are these
Sha.
sounds. Now listen to these carefully. Let me pronounce these three sounds differently, separately, okay? And then see if you can hear the difference. It's mostly very important to understand the difference between this one and this one, sha and sha. So let me recite this sound, sha. Next one,
Sha.
hold on, don't repeat it after me, just 1 second. Sha and sha. Can you hear the distinction? That's the question.
Yes. Sha and sha.
Sha and sha.
Sha and sha.
Sha.
Sha, sha.
Sha.
Okay.
Sha.
And this, of course, is sa, like in Sam. Okay, the third one. So these two are very important to understand. And, we will go through some of these sounds. And then ha is, of course, like honey. All right, so this is some very basic understanding of how to pronounce these sounds. Okay, I'm going to move on now. And let me make it a little smaller now. So there are internationally recognized diacritical marks that are used to represent Sanskrit sounds. Okay, that's very important to learn what these marks are. All right. So an example would be here. Let me see. I have an example of these marks right here. These marks like ah. So when I put a little bar on top of a, the sound is ah. It's a longer sound. Okay, remember, in the alphabet, we have, for example, here, the first letter is a, next letter is ah. This is the short letter, this is the long letter. Same thing with e, u, oo. So these are long sounds. Anytime you make a sound longer than the short sound, you put a bar on top. Similarly here, pra, na, ya. Now this one is not a bar on top, so it's pranayama. It's not pranayama. It's pranayama. Same thing here, asana. These two sounds are not long. It's not asana. It's asana. Okay, so these two sounds are short. You understand the difference here?
Yes.
Okay. Same thing with dhyana. So this last sound is short, dhyana, but the middle sound is ah, long sound.
Yeah, no.
Same thing with the word sutra. Okay, the middle, this su is a long sound, sutra.
Sutra.
All right. So again, we talked about my name. So my name is Subhash. So here, the middle sound is bha, that is the aspirated sound, and then this sh is the second sh, which is pronounced with the tongue at the very back of the palate. Subhash, very back of the palate.
Sure.
Okay, same thing with these sounds like Ganga. So we know this. And then Rishi, again, how do you put these symbols, these Rishi, for example, there is a dot here under the I, there is a dot under the R. Okay, same thing, Narayana. Anyway, so these are some of the ways you can learn how to pronounce these. All right. Now, let's move on to this slide. So remember, we had the vowels, which can be short, long, or very long. So now here in the alphabet, you will only see examples of short and long. Okay. So what is short called? Hraswa. Everyone pronounce that word Hraswa.
Haraswa.
And then the long is called Dirgha. Dirgha. Okay. And then there is a third sound which is very long. It's called Pluta. Pluta.
Ruka.
Okay. Now, that Pluta sound is not used very frequently, but an example would be, for example, a rooster. What kind of sound a rooster makes? Does anybody know? Cuckoo. So the first one is Rasva. Coo, coo. Okay. If I'm not making it, cuckoo, coo. Okay. The first one is Rasva, short, coo. Then the next one, clue, is a little longer. That's Dirgha. And then final coo, that's the final Pluta sound. That's a very common example they gave, how to understand the distinction between these three. Okay. All right. So that's where am I? Okay, vowels. Okay. Then there are consonants. Remember the consonants are these 25 here. From ka through ma, they are called consonants or vyanjana. All right. And they are 25 in number. All right. So these are called, in English, they are called mutes. M-U-T-E-S, mute. I don't know why they are called mutes. But in Sanskrit, they are called sparsha. The word sparsha means touch. Now, these are produced by placing the tongue in different parts of the mouth. So the tongue will be touching different parts of the mouth to create the sounds. Okay. We'll come to that. So I'll show you how they are produced. Okay. And then they can only be pronounced by combining them with vowel. Oh, sorry, I missed this. There are three major categories of consonants. One is called mutes. Now these are called mutes between ka and ma. All right. Then the next category is semi-vowel, or they are called antastha. Okay. So then these ya, ra, la, va, they are called antastha. All right. Semi-vowels. And then the final is sibilant or the ushman. Now these final sh, sa, ha, they are called ushman or sibilants. So here when you do this, there is a kind of a warm air coming out. Sh, sa, ha. That's why I call ushman. Ushman means, literally it means warm. Ushman sounds. Okay. So that's how these sounds are produced. And then there are 5 groups of these mutes. They are called, they're actually named after the very first letter. So this one is called ka group, this is called cha group, ta group, tha group, and pa group. All right, these 25 consonants. Okay.
And what about ksha and nya? Are they part of any of the 3 categories?
Well, like I mentioned, ksha, tra, and nya, there are 3 of them, ksha, tra, and this one somehow didn't list tra. They are called combined letters. So they are Sanjukta Akshara. So this one is a combination of ka and sha. Okay? The second sha. This is a combination of ja and nya. So ka and ka and sha. This ka and this sha will become ksha, and then ja and nya. When you combine these two, this middle letter and the last letter, it become nya. Okay?
So they are part of sparsha.
They are part of sparsha, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But in this case, it is half sparsha. Ka is sparsha, but sha is, ushpan.
Right.
Combination. Okay. Okay, so mutes are either soft or hard. I don't know, why do they call them soft or hard? So what they say is, this ka and kha, the first two letters of each of these five groups, they are called hard, and the second, the third and the fourth letter, they are called soft. Okay? So that's just the way they are described. And again, I've already mentioned that the letters can be aspirated or non-aspirated. So ka, the first letter in the alphabet in the consonant group is ka, which is non-aspirated. The next one is kha, which is aspirated. Same thing, ga is non-aspirated, ga is aspirated. So each one in this one, cha, non-aspirated, cha, aspirated, ja, ja, etc. Okay? And then there are four semi-vowels I already mentioned, ya, ra, la, va. And the last letter in each has a nasal sound. We already saw that. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. That's the nasal sound. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, na, na, ma. That's all nasal sounds, the last letters. Okay. And there are two support vowels. One is called anuswara and the other is called visarga. So anuswara is a dot on top of a letter. Okay, so anytime you want to add this sound, the last letter sound, they can be approximately put with a dot on top. So like this one here, it's called ang, ang. Okay, so and with a dot on top, it becomes ang. Okay, and then there is this letter with these two. This is a little. This is called visarga. All right, like a colon at the end of the letter. Okay, that's called visarga. So the sound becomes aha. So the first letter is but when you add that visarga, it's called visarga, which is like a colon at the end. It's called aha. So if you were to add, for example, let's pick the letter ka. Then if you add this symbol with the two dots at the end of ka, it becomes ka. Ka, ga. That's how it becomes. Okay, and we'll talk about that later. This is called visarga. So there is ang, which is the dot on top, and it's called anuswara. And the visarga is the two dots at the end of the consonant. Then there are these sanyuktakshara, multiple consonants and vowels joined together. And one quick example we saw was this ksha, tra, nya, etc. And there are many combinations that you can do with all these different letters. They can all be combined, okay, into different, make them different sounds. You probably might have an example somewhere. Right. Now, let's go to this chart and see how we can recognize where the tongue is touching the inside of the mouth in making all these sounds. So the first line, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, etc. Okay, this is called, in English, it's called guttural. And if you see the line here, this red line, it's going at the very back of the palate, very back of the palate, slightly above the throat. So the ka sound and kha, ga, gha is coming from there. So the tongue has to go all the way back and then touch here. K, K, G, G. Then you move a little bit further. So cha, that's called palatal, which is soft palate, or sorry, hard palate. Okay. So that's the back side of the palate, back upper side, but slightly ahead of the guttural sound. So this is called palatal sound. That's the cha, cha, ja, ja. Okay. Then you move a little bit further up, then this is called the cerebral soft palate. Ta, ta, da, da. So your tongue has to touch the little bit ahead of this palate here. So a little further up, just a little bit behind the teeth. That's the position of the tongue for the ta, ta, da, da. All right. Oops. And then you move on to the dental sound, which means the tongue has to actually touch the back of the teeth for all these sounds. Ta, ha, da, da. So if you make that sound and you look at, you kind of feel the tongue where it is, it's actually making contact with the back of the teeth. It's very important to recognize this. So it's called the dental sound. All right. So ta, tha, da, dha. And then this line, of course, is the labial, where the tongue has to touch the lips are, the tongue, not the tongue, but the lips are touching each other in this one. Pa, pa, ba, ba. The lips are touching each other. So this is how, the consonants are laid out in a grid, which is very, very symbolic of where the tongue is touching the inside of the mouth. Okay. So this is very important to know this. So now here I have just a few examples, like I mentioned, of these diacritical marks. You already have seen this asana. So again, anytime you see a bar on top of the letter, that's a long sound. Pranayama. Last one is not long, so it have to stop. Ma. Pranayama. Same thing. Asana. Okay. Same thing with dhyana. Last sound is short. Dhyana. Then yoga. It's not yoga. If it was yoga, there will be a bar on top of the a. Okay. So this is yoga sutra. Okay. Again, not sutra. It's sutra. Tra. But there is a bar on top of u, so it becomes u. Sutra. Namaste, no bar anywhere. So it is all short sound. Namaste. Okay. Ganga, Rishi, Nar, we already went through this. So now here I just have a few names of some of the asanas. Okay. So I can probably leave it to you to go through these at your own time. You have slides available. So let me just very quickly kind of pronounce these. At least you get a feel for what these are like. Okay. So this is, again, make sure you look at the bar on top of these sounds. Tadasana. Okay, so this is Tadasana, mountain pose that is called. Then Adho Mukha Shwanasana. So there's a little dash on top of the S that makes it the sh sound. Sh, the first sh. Okay. Then this A is long, Shwanasana. All right. So Adho Mukha Shwanasana. Okay. Then there's the upward facing dog is Urdhva Mukha. So again, this first letter is U, so it's a long sound. Urdhva Mukha Shwanasana.
I have a question on Shwanasana. I can read Hindi, so I know it's a choti sh, a small sh. How would we be able to tell from the transliterated version that it's it's Shwanasana, not Shavanasana?
So this one is with a bar on top. There's a little dot on top.
Oh, okay.
That the little bar on top is on top of the S. Okay.
That's the small sh.
Yes. And now this one. Look at this. Shirshasana. It has both of these, right?
Right.
Yes.
So
No,
in this one, there's a little dash on top of this S, and there's a dot under the S to make it the next sha.
Right, but no, it's not. I'm not sorry. I asked it wrong. It's half sh versus full sh. So ones who can read Hindi, they can read it as Shwanasana, Shwa. But when I'm just reading the English, right, something needs to tell that it's not sh, not Shavanasana. It's Shwanasana.
You should know that. You should know that.
Oh,
Chaturanga.
okay.
Chaturanga. There's an A after ch, right? So if it was Shavanasana, there'll be an
Yeah.
A after S.
Oh, there'll be an A. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You got that?
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. I didn't realize the A would make a difference.
A is the one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Again, Uttanasana. Then this is the Chaturanga Dandasana. Chaturanga Dandasana. So there's a long word here. Chaturanga Dandasana. This is da. This is the. Okay. So again, very different sounds. With the dot under D, it becomes da. Da. Without the dot, it is the. The as in Deva. Okay. So that's the difference between these two sounds. Dandasana. And there is, of course, Bhujangasana. We know that cobra pose. Bhujangasana. Then Utkatasana, half chair. Veerabhadrasana. We have this warrior pose, right? We know this very well. Warrior pose. Veerabhadrasana. Then there is a Prasarita Padottanasana, long name. Wide-legged forward bend. Prasarita, Pada, Uttan. Multiple words are combined here. Padottanasana. Okay. Ardha Chandrasana. And this is Vrikshasana. This is a re sound. Vrikshasana. There's a dot under R. R. Makes it Vrikshasana. And this is Garudasana, eagle. Camel is called Ushtrasana. Ushtrasana.
Ustrasana.
Yes.
Strasana.
Ushtrasana.
Ustrasana.
Yep. And crane is called Bakasana.
Bakasana.
There's this Ekapada Kaundinyasana. I don't teach this asana because I can't do it myself. But anyway, it's a complicated pose.
Sebastian, you say that if it's not earlier you had mentioned that asan, you did not have, like, it's not a long word. So how are we pronouncing as like, yeah.
Asana. So it is asana.
But now here we are saying asana. So why
not
would
asana. There are,
No, it is asana.
try to understand the distinction between what I'm saying.
Huh.
If there was a bar on top of this A, it will be asana.
Correct. I understood that part. But
Now,
when going back to,
when there is no bar, it will be asana. Na. Can you hear that sound? Na.
no.
Na. So it will be asana.
Correct. I understood this part, but going back to the next one, we are saying, could we go back to the, we are saying, let me see, what is a good one to say? Uttanasana. So why there is no bar at the top?
At the very end? No, it's uttanasana. It's not asana.
Uttanasana. Uttanasana. Okay, got you.
Again, in Hindi and Gujarati, we end up saying asan. That's not correct. It's not asan. It is asana.
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 You cannot end it by saying asan.
Asana.
Asana.
No, not na. Na. Asana.
Asana. Same thing. In Hindi and in Gujarati, in Hindi, we say yoga. We cannot say yog. It's yoga.
Yoga.
Okay.
Okay.
Sanskrit, we have to pronounce the last sound very, very correctly. Yoga Sutra.
Yoga Sutra.
Okay?
Yoga.
Very important. Not yoga. Again.
Not yoga. Yoga.
Yoga.
Yoga Sutra.
It's
Yoga
Yoga
Sutra.
Sutra.
Yoga Sutra.
In normal conversation, we end up saying yoga, which is a long sound, which is not correct. And it is
Yoga Sutra.
not correct to say yog. That's in Hindi and Gujarati. Yog. That's also wrong. It has to be pronounced as
Yoga.
Yoga Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra.
Very nice. Yep.
Yoga Sutra.
Okay. Now, so let me go back to some of these words here.
It was on the red slide. Yeah.
This is, I think we're done with this. Yep. So these are some of the names, the words in common Sanskrit. You can say common Sanskrit terms, yoga-related terms. Again, I'm going to read it very quickly. Ahimsa. Okay, that's non-violence. Dharana. Again, now this one is with a long sound at the end. Dharana. So it's not dharana. It's dharana. Whereas this is dhyana. It's not dhyana. Okay, you see the difference. Dharana versus dhyana.
Yes, understood, Subhas.
Dhana.
Ananda. Bliss. Asana. Again, asana. Not asana.
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 Some people in the West, I've heard them pronounce it asana, which is very, very wrong. Asana is not correct at all. It's way off. Asana. This is Ashtanga. Ashtanga. Remember the 8-limbed Ashtanga?
Ang.
How do you say that the dot below the letter? How do you pronounce correctly?
This is the sh. This is the second sh. Remember? Sh. So it's the same thing that I mentioned here. So this is the first sh, which is the more like the front of the palate. Then this sh is the very back end of the palate. Sh. Okay. There are two different sounds here.
Okay.
Well, here is showing 33 consonants and other places show, you said 25. Which one is, how many consonants we have in Sanskrit?
So we have
Just
33
you showed one
consonants.
is 33, right?
These are 25, which are called so this is the 25 consonants, which are called the mutes, sparsha. Okay, but
Okay.
if you add all the others, okay, then we have ya, ra, la, va, sha, sa. They're all parts of the part of the consonant. Okay, so all the way up to here. So that makes it 33. Okay. So, I don't think I need to go through this. I guess you can on your own read these. Just learn to recognize these bars and other, dots and these like a dash on top. What do you call it? How do you describe the symbol in English?
Tilde.
Tilde, something like that. Okay, so that's the way you pronounce these words.
Subhaji, could you pronounce pratyahar?
Pratyahara. Again,
Pratyahar.
it's not pratyahar. Because
Okay.
ra has to be pronounced as full ra. So pratyahara.
Pratyahar.
Yes. Always the last letter has to be pronounced properly. Unlike in Hindi and Gujarati.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Basi, I have a difficult time with a da and then another. Just looks like a da. If you go back to the,
Which one?
go back one more slide. This anna, I have difficult time that, and with this da, these two. I don't know how, when I see the script, I don't know how to recognize which is which.
This is da, you mean this da?
But how is it different when it's written? What is the difference?
Between this and which one?
Na and da, how can I tell the difference? They look very similar.
I don't see the similarity. So this is da, this is na. Where do you see the similarity?
No, this if you go to the number fifth letter, ka, ka, ga, ga, nga, number 5,
Huh?
and then come back after the
Oh,
tha, ga. I have a difficult time distinguishing those two
So this is
letters.
nga, this is the dot there.
There's a dot.
It's the
Yeah.
da, and then you put a dot here, then it becomes nga.
Okay, so the differentiation is
The
just the
dot,
dot on the head,
not on the head.
on the
The
top.
side.
Yeah. But when you actually write it, then the dot comes on top of the letter.
Yeah.
Anuswara comes on top of the letter when you actually write any word which has these sounds.
So
Correct.
is there a example for this, what he's saying? I see what the point is, so it could be very confusing as well. Like, is there a word that you can see that I can look up to see this?
So like this one here,
Uh-huh.
this is Ganga, okay? So there is a dot on top of the N, and this nga, if you see, this looks like da, but there's a dot after this da. Can you see the difference here? Ganga,
Hmm.
okay? Can you see it here?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a dot here so to represent that nga sound, Ganga.
Okay.
Ganga.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, wonderful.
Subhashi, I've had trouble with the sh and sh.
Yeah.
So the way I learned it was shalgam, sh, and shatkon, sh.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Those are very commonly mentioned words. You're right, absolutely right. Yep.
Okay. But I just wanted to know if I'm saying that right. Is it
No, no, no.
shatkon, sh?
Yes, yes. Shut cone is with the sound very, very back of the palate. And what was the other word you said?
Sangam.
Shalgam.
Shalgam. Yeah, yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Subhash, Chandani here. Got a question. Can you pronounce headstand?
So headstand is, the word is, let me just show you the word here.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is Shirshasana. So there's a two different sha involved here, right? The first one with a little tilde on top, and the second with a dot under it, under the S, right? You see that
Yeah.
too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this is,
Shirshasana.
yeah, so this is Shirshasana.
Shirshasana.
That's right, you got it.
Okay. Thank you, Subhash. Thank you.
Shirshasana. That second one has to be very back of the throat.
Shirshasana.
There, you got it.
Thank you.
Good. Very nice. Okay. So now,
Shashana.
no, the last one is sa. You're saying shana. It's not shana, it's sana. Asana.
Asana.
So this one,
Shirsasana.
it's very important to recognize all the three S sounds are involved here. All the three. Asana. So
Oh my God, yes.
and all three are involved here. That's very important. This S with a little tilde on top, this S with a dot underneath, this S without anything. This S is without anything. So it is pure sa sound like Sam. Okay?
Shirshasana.
Yes.
Shasana.
Very nice.
No.
Sana.
Okay, so any other questions on this one? All right. I just wanted to very quickly go over the numbers in Sanskrit, what they are called and how they are written. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but if you just don't, if you want to, you can mute yourself and repeat after me. So the number 1 is ekam.
Ekam.
Okay. 2 is dve.
Dve.
Trini. 3 is trini.
Trini.
Rana. That last sound is rana. That trini.
Trini.
Yes, trini. You got it.
Okay.
Chatwari. 4.
Chatvari.
Why
5.
does it say Catvari?
What's that?
Why,
Ah.
why does it say, why doesn't it say CHA?
No,
CHA.
no. This is the internationally recognized diacritical symbol for ch, which is C. C is for ch sound, which we normally would write CH, but in the diacritical nomenclature, it is just C. It's pronounced as ch.
Subhashri, can you repeat Trini?
Trini.
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 Chatvari.
Trini.
Trini.
Yeah.
Pancha. Pancha.
Chatvari. Pancha.
Shat.
Shat. Now, this one is not shata, it's shat.
Shut.
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 Shat.
Shut.
That last, this one is the shut with the you know with the back of the palate sound. Shut.
Shut.
Yeah.
Is that the little mark under the T means it is a short sound or long?
Yes. Yeah. It is.
Pancha, shut.
Yeah. It is shut.
Pancha, shut,
Like
shut.
in English, shut up. We'll say shut up. You'll say shut.
Shut.
Same shut. Keep shut. That's exactly the same sound. Keep shut. 7 is sapta.
Sapta.
8 is ashta. Again, that sh with the back of the palate sound. Ashta.
Ashta.
Say that again.
Here we have
Ashta.
No. It's back of the palate sound, not ash. It's not ashta. It's ashta.
Ashta.
It's back of the palate sound.
Ashta.
This is nava
Nava.
and this is dasha.
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 Yep, very good. So these are the 10 numbers, first 10 numbers.
It's almost like you have to retrain your tongue to say
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going through some of the characteristics of the language again. So let me just quickly go over this. So in Sanskrit, the only punctuation used is a full stop, which is a bar, single bar, or an end of paragraph mark, which is 2 bars. There are no punctuation marks for colon, comma, and all those things, and they're all used just by the way the sentence is structured. That's how we know where to pause, where to give, things like that. But having known the marks now, in modern usage, most of the common punctuation marks have been introduced now, just to make it clearer. Okay, so we use comma, we use colon, we use dash. All those are now used in Sanskrit. And if you read the ancient literature, you will not see any comma or any colon or any of those marks. Now,
Is that the reason multiple words are also combined together in the chants and writings and all scriptures?
I'll come to that.
Like
That's
there are,
what Sandhi and Samasa, those are the two.
okay.
Is that the question?
I don't know, but I've seen a lot of different words combined together in one sentence.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it's just one sentence, but then the whole sentence goes from left to right of that book.
It becomes
So,
one word. That's called Samasa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's called
Okay.
Samasa. Okay. So we may or may not come to that. Maybe in the next class I might be able to do that. But that's a good one, yeah. Samasa. And there is Sandhi and Samasa, two ways to combine. Okay. So for example, just to give you a quick example. Okay. So just pick an example here. Bhujangasana, right? Or any of these, Tadasana. Now this is one word, right? But it's a combination of 2 words, Tad plus Asana. Every one of them is ending with the word asana, which is separate. But then it becomes one word, Yangasana. Okay, becomes one word. Okay, that's because of the rules of Sandhi, it's called Sandhi. That's how we combine 2 words together, which have, sounds which can be combined together. Everyone got that?
Yes.
Okay. So there are, where was it? Here. 3 genders as opposed to 2 genders in English. There are 3 in Sanskrit. masculine, feminine, and neuter. Okay? So this is called Pumlinga, it's called Strilinga, and this is Napunsakalinga in terms of the English, in terms of the Sanskrit language. Okay? We'll talk about these. So masculine, feminine, and neuter. Now, like maybe in English, anything that is not doesn't have any life, you can think of that as neutral gender, something like that, right? That's not true in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, you have to learn the gender as you learn the word. A very common example would be the word for tree. What's the word for tree in Sanskrit? Vriksha. Vriksha. Okay. Now, vriksha is it's not an animate object, but
Living.
it's masculine. Okay. And just to give you a quick example, all right. Three genders, and also there are three numbers: singular, dual, and plural. Okay. And there are 7 case endings. Okay. So here that's the most basic tenet of the Sanskrit language is that the function of a noun is determined by the case ending. Okay. So for example, if I were to say from Rama, right? So from Rama, I should actually have Rama here. Okay. From Rama. Well, actually, I didn't put it right. Anyway, so from Rama, right? In English, we have to say 2 words. But in Sanskrit, it becomes Ramat. The moment I say Ramat, it means from Rama. Okay. Same with Rams. Because if something belongs to Ram, then it is Ramasya. Okay. And if I give something to Ram, then it will be Ramam. So it's the ending which will determine what the meaning is. And all these are kind of encased in that ending itself. There are 7 case endings, and we'll come to that example next time. 7 case endings for nouns, right? So they are called, in Sanskrit, they are called vibhakti. Anybody heard the term vibhakti? That's what they're called, these case endings. Okay?
Bhakti.
Yeah.
Vibhakti.
And then similar to the noun, there are declensions for the verbs also. Okay? And these are based on root words. They are called dhatu. Okay? And again, the declensions are based on the person, whether it's first person, second person, or third person. The number, whether it is ek, one, singular, dual, or plural, that's number. And which tense, whether it is past tense, present tense, or future tense. So all those will determine the declension of all these dhatus, they are called, of the root words for verbal letters, verbal words. And for the nouns, they are called vibhakti. Okay? Vibhakti, and there are all depends on the case ending will determine what the meaning is. Okay. All right. So, I see. So, I think we can stop here. Does it make sense to stop here? Okay. So now we're getting into a little more of the grammatical constructs. Let's leave it to the next class then. Okay, it's almost 12 now. Okay. So now, before we close, anybody have any questions?
No, it's a good lesson, good information.
Okay.
Yeah, very good, Subhashji.
So this was the Chitrapur Mutt. Remember, Suresh has given the link. This is very nice. Thank you, Suresh.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's the one where all the lessons are there. Now, since you mentioned these lessons, and I do plan to offer a 25-week program. I'm thinking of starting on April 6th. That's a Sunday. And every Sunday for 25 weeks, 10:30 to 11:30, 1 hour. Okay. So that will be, for whatever we can cover in 25 weeks. I don't know how, I have no idea how much we'll cover. I've never done that before. But we'll use those lessons available on the Chitrapur Mutt website. And of course, we'll be adding, more information related to yoga and all those things, and everything will get added. Okay. But that will be the basic kind of the main structure of the course. All right.
Starting from 25th April, Subhasji, and you say 10:30 to 11:30?
April 6th. I'll start on April 6th. Sunday, April 6th.
Okay.
It'll be 10:30 to 11:30. And it's a 25-week program. Whatever we cover in 25 weeks, that will be end of it. And I'm going to keep a fee of $75 for that program, with a little rider on that. So for anyone who completes the entire program without missing a class, that they will get a full refund. All those people who don't miss a single class, they'll get a full refund of $75.
Oh, wow.
If you miss one class and then 24 classes, you'll get a refund of $50. If you miss 2 classes, okay, you'll get a refund of $25. But if you miss more than 2 classes, you're out of luck. No refund. Now, does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
Incentive.
The incentive is to attend every class. That's the whole idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we'll do for the session that's coming up April 6th. Right?
So, Subhashi, for that 25-week class, are you going to again start from all this, the basics, or will you start after this, like wherever you start?
I'll review these basics. Absolutely, I will.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll review these basics and then move on to the lesson from the Chitrapur Mutt site. That's important to review. It is important to review these basics.
Subhasji, I will definitely won't get the refund because Suchi's wedding, but will you be sharing the would you be sharing the link,
yes,
please? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for doing this. This is very, very good. I really appreciate that.
Very good. I'm glad you like it. Okay. So let me stop the recording for